sculpting a wolf. So we of course start with our ball and our line of symmetry on, because that will make sculpting everything much easier. First, I'm going to be starting out by just creating the simple masses of the sculpture. So it's kind of like if you squint your eyes at something and just see the basic shapes without much detail. So here we have me sculpting the wolf really fast. I sped it up so we weren't here because this did take me several hours to make, and I didn't want you to have to sit here for 2 hours while I sculpted. Once I get the basic shapes, I start refining it and start trying to make this look more like a canine instead of a hippo. So I'll be shaping the nose and adding the ears and defining things better. Grab is a great tool to use when you need to adjust the placement of something or stretch something out just a little bit to get a better shape. Once I get the basic shapes kind of mapped out to where I can't go any further, I start to add in the finer details. And I use various tools to do that, whether it's grease, add clay, flatten, smooth, grab. You're going to use all the tools generally when you're sculpting something. And you have to make sure you look at all the angles to make sure that what you're sculpting looks correct from the different views. You can see here how sometimes I'll go over an area several times because the tool didn't do what I wanted, or I just didn't get the shape quite right. And that's part of sculpting. You're not going to get it right the first time usually. So sometimes I'll even sculpt something and go back to it a while later after I thought I had it good the first time. The important thing is to not get discouraged and to just keep doing it and sculpting and shaping until you have it the way you would like it. For this part, I am doing some fine details, so I wanted my reference picture right next to where I was sculpting so that I could see it. Once I get the overall shape and larger details the way I'd like it, I start doing the fur, which usually I just use the crease tool, and sometimes I use the draw tool if I want there to be bigger fur areas. But this definitely takes a long time, and occasionally adding this much detail will crash your program. As you can see, it crashed my program because my triangles were over 1,000,000. So then I had to go and use the decrease selected tool, make sure I save, and once I lowered my triangle number down a little bit, I could go back at it. Definitely remembering to keep an eye on your triangle so the number doesn't get too high will help you when you're sculpting. Made sure to save several times and use the reduce selected triangle button so that I could make sure my program didn't crash again and I didn't lose all my work. Sometimes I'll also use the reduce brush where I can select different areas and reduce a triangle so that I don't lose my details. Reducing your triangles can take a while, but it's definitely worth it in the end when your sculpture is finished and it doesn't crash the program. So the reason I'm adding these details but I haven't finished the legs is because I want to keep symmetry on, so I don't want to have to do all this fur on both sides. I want it to be doing it on both sides at the same time while I do it on the one side. However, I can't do the feet yet because if you saw my reference picture, it's a wolf running, and the wolf's feet are kind of not symmetrical on either side. So now I've turned off the symmetry button so that I can do the legs and have them at different angles and not be symmetrical. Sculpting the legs is a little bit more challenging because in my reference picture I'm only seeing the wolf from one angle and I can't see all the different details of the legs because it's just running and overlapping with other parts of its body. So I kind of had to look up more reference pictures to make sure that I got all the shapes right. As you can see, I kept saving and using the reduce brush to make sure my program didn't crash on me, since I was almost done and I didn't want to lose all my work. You can see now that I have most of the legs sculpted that they are quite dissimilar and all tangled up in each other, which would not have worked with the symmetry line on. Now we're done. We have our wolf running mid-run. Our next video will be how I printed it on my 3D printer at home, and you'll get to see the final product.